Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Tuesday Night Live. And we are going to be talking about the incredible experience that I just had at the Monroe Institute. At the Monroe Institute for the 7-day Gateway Experience program. So I'm sure you guys have heard about the Gateway Experience for years. Obviously, we know this history around it with, these declassified CIA documents and these documents that are saying you can travel outside of the body, out of body experiences. And then we also have these other things where it talks about in some of these documents where there is a hologram, that the universe is a hologram. I've talked about that topic many times before. So, I have actually never done the gateway tapes. And for the last several years, I am asked like once a week if I have done the gateway tapes. And I've never done them. So, this was my first experience. Sorry. This was my first experience with the gateway tapes. And what an incredible honor to be able to do it at the Monroe Institute, and we did it in Robert Monroe's actual home on Roberts Mountain, and I just have to first say, if you are thinking about going to the Monroe Institute, 100% do it. Now, we will talk about doing it digitally. I know some people asked before I came on, some people messaged me and asked about doing it online. I also think it's gonna be very effective and very good online as well. But I just have to say about the Monroe Institute before we really start getting into it, this place is so humble. For what they are doing, this place is so understated and underrated for what they are doing here at the Monroe Institute. I'm blown away by my experience. It was far more than a meditation retreat. Now, I have done one of the questions that was submitted before coming on was, would you rather do Monroe again or would you rather do ayahuasca again? I have to say that doing ayahuasca 4 nights in Costa Rica, 4 nights in Peru, I did it with Rhythmia and I did it with Soltara. Monroe Institute reaches the same level, has the same level of healing, has the same extreme type of experience, but completely sober, completely in control, and completely aware. And this is really powerful, where the type of healing that happens in plant medicine was able to be done in meditation. So let's start with the experience. So it's a 7-day program. You do 6 days of meditation, 5 full days. And it's really, like, very immersive, very intensive. So, if you do it in person, I'm gonna be talking about the Gateway experience, but I will also talk about some of the other programs because they do have a remote viewing program, which is, at this time, with Joe McMoneagle, like, remote viewer number 1 of Project Stargate, the greatest remote viewer in the world. So if you are interested in doing remote viewing, then the blessing opportunity to be able to do it with Joe McMoneagle. And we actually had a treat of Joe McMoneagle coming to speak with us for 1 day. And I mean, I have to do a whole separate video on that. I have like 20 pages of notes of what he said, and it's beautiful that this man has experienced all that he has, and the messages, the wisdom that he has is so beautiful. I'm gonna do a whole nother video of like a day with Joe McMoneagle, and I'm just gonna relate all that is in my notes. But they also have the discovery program. So as I was getting there, there was 2 other people in the airport that were on their way to Monroe. And one of them was a facilitator monitor of the discovery program, and one was a participant of the discovery program. So I'm going to get more into Gateway, but I am going to talk a little bit about discovery first because you might be called to do discovery as much as I am going to soup up Gateway. Discovery program might be another option for you if you're interested in going to Monroe. So what they do in Discovery is they actually attach an EEG to your head and they monitor your brain waves. And it starts out with them first having you kind of meditate with your eyes open, then with your eyes closed, then with the Monroe sound science, which is so they created the Hemi-Sync, which was based off of binaural beats. Binaural beats was originally discovered in 1839, I believe. And then Robert Monroe perfected this with the Hemi-Sync technology in the 70s. Now, if you guys have seen on my page, I've also done an interview with Mark Serto, and Mark Serto was the original sound engineer on the original Gateway tapes. So go check that out if you have not. Mark Serto, also an amazing, humble legend who is doing some intense work and is so understated. And that's what I just, like, was really blown away by. Like, I wanna sing from the rooftops about, like, how incredible it is what they're doing. But they are so just humble, and it's like the work speaks for itself, it speaks for itself. They've got nothing to hide, nothing to, you know, show off. It just is. And the right people get there and the right people experience it. So I was really just blown away because, you know, this is like the level of ayahuasca in healing, but completely in control, completely sober. Like, and also the integration is very different because integrating plant medicine, it's different when you know that you are under the influence. Integrating stuff that was not under the influence, which was literally just headphones and your eyes closed, is really another level. So, one of the things I wanna talk about too, so I'm gonna jump around a bit, but we'll talk a little bit about the discovery program because I really feel that Gateway was 100% yes for me. Like, someone messaged me and said, "Should I do it?" Yes, you should do it. Yes, you should do it. However, Discovery might be a better option for some people because Discovery, like I said, they attach you to the EEG and then they get kind of your base brain waves. And then you see that. You get to see, like, oh, alpha is active, beta is really active. Oh, I'm not getting that much into theta. Oh, I'm not really getting into gamma. And they're going to show you. And then they give you individualized tools on how to, one, be able to identify when you're in these different brain waves, and then also some tools to get you to access these other things. So I was lucky enough that I got to have kind of a little private side tour, and I was shown some of these brain waves, and it's interesting. So it's like they're all kind of different and jumbled up, like beta, alpha, gamma, delta. They're all kind of like jumbled up, kind of like threads all in different directions. Then you see there's this moment on the brainwave report that, like, all of them become cohesive, and then all of them drop, and then there's this little moment, and then they all are in complete coherence, like, identical coherence, and he was showing me that he's like, "You see this? This is when you go out of body, and then when you go out of body, there's this little kind of thing of like, oh shit, I'm out of body.' And then it becomes completely cohesive. And some of the things that I learned from this was gamma. You know, everybody talks about gamma. A lot of the methods that I had learned previously, like Silva method and the QHHT, things like that. So QHHT is the hypnosis. The Silva method is kind of similar to a self hypnosis. They all of these different things, shamanic journeying, these are all different variations similar to what you are experiencing at Monroe. But at Monroe, they have the science to back it up. They have the brain waves to back it up. They have 50 years of research to back it up. So, as real as hypnosis is, as real as shamanic journeying is, as real as the Silva method is, it's very rare to have this amount of proof and this many different people going through the exact same experience. So Discovery, not to confuse anybody, Discovery is a different program than Gateway. I'm just talking a little bit about Discovery because it was actually as I was getting there, I was talking to some people in the airport about it. And then getting to talk to some of the people who did the Discovery program, they also had profound healing as well. So it's not just kind of getting your brainwaves tested. They had the same type of profound healing that we were having in the Gateway program. And so the reason I'm bringing up discovery is because if you are someone who kind of meditates, but you're like, I don't know if I'm getting there. I don't know if it's real. I don't know if that meditation really did what I thought, or, oh, I connected with something, but I'm not sure. Maybe discovery would be an actually a better experience because you get to see the brainwaves. And then now you know how that felt. So you know, wow, I did actually experience that. I was in theta. I was in alpha. I did experience gamma. So this is a really good tool if you're someone, because Gateway is super cool, and I'm gonna get really into it because it was, like, the coolest thing I've ever done. But I'm just saying that, first of all, they're very booked up. They are very booked up, so this is something that if you're interested in doing, it's not like you're going next week. You could go on the waiting list, and maybe by chance, by the synchronicities of the universe, maybe you are gonna go next week. But for the most part, you're gonna have to book this out. So, you said, "Has anyone healed themselves using the tapes?" I believe so. I mean, so okay. I'm gonna finish on the discovery thing, and then I'm gonna get into Gateway and the Gateway tapes. So, on in discovery, they get tools to understand the brainwaves that they're in, and then we also had this little bit of insight, which was super interesting, is they said when you get into gamma, those are the aha moments. Those are the downloads. Those are the realizations. When you have that moment of like, "Oh, this suddenly makes sense. Oh, I get it now." That's actually getting into gamma, and they have measured this in all of their work with brainwaves. And what I was saying about QHHT, Silva method, those actually deal with alpha and theta because gamma was not discovered until I think the 90s. So Monroe Institute has been working before that, and then after gamma was discovered and gamma was measurable, now they've been working also with gamma. So how does this sound science work? So you guys have heard of binaural beats before, which is one frequency in this ear and one frequency in this ear. Robert Monroe, with the help of Mark Zerto and the CIA and other things, helped develop the Hemi-Sync technology. So Hemi-Sync is actually improving on binaural beats so that you can actually specifically target going to certain altered states. And so these altered states can be achieved through the Hemi-Sync technology. So what is the Hemi-Sync? Basically, let's say, for example, gamma is around 4 hertz, right? So what they'll do is say, this is the example that they gave us. I'm sure it's much more complex than this. This is a very simplified version of what's happening. In one ear, it'll be 104 hertz. In the other ear, it'll be 100 hertz. Your brain will then create a third frequency based off of the difference between the two frequencies. So 104 hertz is per second, 104 waves. 100 hertz is 100 waves. The difference between them being 4. So 4 waves per second is actually whoom, 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 which is why when you listen to the certain types of binaural beats, frequencies, sometimes it's this womp, womp, womp. That's not actually the sound. That's your brain creating the third sound. So what they've been able to do is to actually use these, and some of these are even reverse engineered. Some of these, they have taken the brain waves of energy healers while doing energy healing, use those brain waves to reverse engineer them into sounds for people to receive healing. I mean, they have, so now they did the Hemi-Sync technology. Now, over these years, because it's been 50 years that the Monroe Institute has been doing this work, technology has changed to a whole nother level. So now we have different types of brain entrainment, which is audio signals that create altered states. And now, we have these like 3D sounds. So when we did the Gateway program, we're using, this is called one of their legacy programs. And so That means we are using the old original recordings, Bob Monroe's voice, the original Hemi-Sync, all of that. So now the Discovery and these other programs that they do, these are the enhanced ones, the newer ones, the ones that are more optimized for, gamma and things like that, and, now you guys might have seen, like, sometimes, like, where they can pan between the ears using a 3D technology in editing software. So now they have much more advanced software that has a 360 experience within the headphones. So all of these programs are amazing and valuable depending on where you're at and what you need. So if you maybe want that like confirmation of like, I'm really doing this, this is really working, I'm really getting to alpha, I'm really getting to theta, I'm really getting to gamma, then Discovery might be the program for you. Now, Gateway is the original. Everybody has probably downloaded them off of the internet, the Gateway tapes. So the ones that we do are the real Gateway tapes. So these are the same legacy program that Bob Monroe created originally. And I mean, when we really start getting into what I experienced, it is so profound. So you can do it at the Monroe Institute, yes. So you can do a week-long program at Monroe Institute. Now, they also have an internet digital program as well. So you can do the Gateway experience at home. There's 2 different guided ways to do it. One is a week long, which is pretty much the same schedule that you do by staying there, or they have one that is broken up into 2 weekends. So if you're someone who can't take a whole week off of work, you could do we do half of the program one weekend and half of the program the next weekend. So, which one will aid in having OBE? Okay, so let's talk about the OBE. Now, there's different versions of OBE, and this was a big discussion in we would go do these meditations and then come back to a debriefing room and everybody would share their experience. And you know, I have kind of been more literal in my understanding of an OBE. So, kind of like the standard literal definition of an out of body experience is like floating up out of your body and then like turning around and looking at it, right? Like, this is like what we hear in Robert Monroe's books. This is what we hear in different people's experiences. Sometimes people have these spontaneously, they float out of the body and then they're like floating above the body and moving around. So I did not have that type of experience, and so I was going back to the, debriefing room and saying like, "Well, I'm not having the out of body experience, but I felt my whole consciousness go and congregate only in my head and not be in my body, and felt my consciousness only in one place and felt it not in the rest of the body." And they're like, "Well, this is the debate of OBE." And they said that, out of body experiences are actually kind of a wider range than that typical definition. So, yes, if you have that kind of, which other people in the group were having that type of experience where there's like this kind of vibration feeling and they kind of are like a bit above the body, but not fully disconnected. One of the meditations, I felt like sticky. I felt like I was coming up out of the body, but I felt a little like sticky, like I was still like glued to the body. So there's different variations. There's also sometimes like not full out of body where other people would experience they think their arm is in one place and then when they open their eyes their arm is over there, but they felt their arm somewhere else. So there's a lot of interesting things like that. So one of the first meditations that we did, I had a very intense experience. I'm going to do a whole different video on my personal because I got a lot of messages, a lot of crazy experiences, t- time and space, traveling, healing, like, I'm gonna do another video going more in depth to my personal experiences because I kind of want to first just say what it is and what is happening. And for people who want to hear more about what I actually experienced, I'm gonna do another video, about that. But so one of the first meditations, though, I felt myself feel very separate from the body in my consciousness. So like my mind felt like very like, oh damn, like her, that. body. So what actually first started is my headphones I accidentally, like, kind of unplugged my headphone a little bit, and then so one ear was not fully working on, like, our first meditation. So I was like, "Okay, I'm just gonna surrender. I'm just gonna" Now, okay, you have your little light, which you could get help if they can come and help you. I didn't use the light. The meditation was already starting, and I saw it as, like, I'm gonna push through, and obstacles are not in my way. Any frustrations are not in my way. Everything is purposeful. There's a reason why it's happening this way. I'm going to lean into this and I'm going to do this. And I had a very crazy, profound experience by pushing through the doubt, the frustration, the is it going to work if one of my headphones is sounding a little bit weird, which was my own fault for I didn't realize I had accidentally kind of unplugged it a little bit. And so when I put the headphones on, I'm not getting the 100% Hemi-Sync, but then they also have speakers. So I was still hearing both of them on both sides of the head because there's speakers outside of the headphones. So I still was getting all of the sounds and the experience. But what I felt very, like, first in my conscious mind, in my thoughts, very separate from my body. So this is one of the main things is I am more than my physical body, is the affirmation that they ask you to use in this. And I felt myself, like, very mentally separate from my body, like, "Oh gosh, wow, that body's been through a lot. Oh, that poor body." Feeling very separate from it in that way. And what was interesting is because I think it was also purposeful that one of my headphones started to go out in the beginning was because as that started happening, I heard a woman breathing. So I was like, "Oh, this must be my instructor accident maybe she's breathing into the microphone." But I'm like, "But that doesn't make sense. How am I hearing her breathe through my headphones if this side of the headphone is not working?" And then that's when I realized it was me breathing, and I was disconnecting from my body in that way because I was hearing a woman breathing, and I'm like, "Who is that breathing?" And it was me. But I was so feeling like unconsciously becoming, like, disconnected with the body that I was like, "Who's breathing so loud?" And we're in these check units. So the check unit is like a little cubby that's in the wall, and it has a blackout curtain, and it has speakers, and it has headphones, and it has a little check light. So when you're ready in your unit, you put your light on, and them in the control room, they see that everybody's lights have gone on, and now they're ready to hit play and to guide us through this experience. So then I start having this experience of, like, being very kind of separate from my body, but still in the body. Like, I can't fully get out of it. Now, in this book, The Kabbalion, which is also very ironic because I was there with Mitch Horowitz, who Mitch Horowitz is the narrator of the audiobook of The Kabbalion. But in The Kabbalion, they talk about all is mind. We think the mind is the head, the brain, the thoughts. The mind is everything. We just have a concentration of understanding the mind through the brain. But mind is in my pinky. Mind is in my toe. Mind is in every organ in the body and outside of the body. The aura around us is mind. And that's like the type of teachings that come from the Kabbalion. And so my mind, I always thought about it in my head until at this moment I felt it congregate only in my head. And felt my body not having the mind in it, not having my consciousness, my conscious self in it. And it was only like my mind kind of went like backed up against only in the head. And I started to have this very weird experience because I'm like, first of all, I was hearing myself breathing. Then I realized it's me breathing, not somebody else. Why does it sound like somebody else breathing? And then I'm like, wait, I f this body is not me. Like, this body is something separate than me. And then I started to feel very backed up, my consciousness, my mind felt backed up against the wall, like, in the back wall of my mind. So I didn't have the type of out of body experience that was coming out of me, like, but it was moving So then as we start to kind of come back down from this meditation and I feel myself start to come back into the whole body, it did not feel good. I was like, "Ooh, the body really does keep the score. This is horrible. How many games have I lost? Oh god, the body keeps the score. How long have I been losing for? This is terrible. I'm the worst in the whole league if the body keeps the score." So it was just like this feeling when as we came down, I was like, "Ooh." You said that's how you feel every waking morning. Oh my god, Natasha. I'm so sorry. Um, so that was a very weird experience. I was like, "Okay." So kind of to go back and to explain what's happening here is we first start that first group of meditations at focus level 10. So focus level 10 is so these are different places that are kind of mapped out within consciousness, within expanded consciousness, maybe astral planes, whatever you want to call them. Now, the things that they teach at the Monroe Institute overlap with many spiritual teachings. Like I said, it's similar to shamanic journeying, it's similar to hypnosis, it's similar to there's different things that are similar to channeling. They have things that you go to certain focus levels and people speak through you. There's things that are similar to mediumship. There's all of these kind of spiritual concepts, but within Monroe Institute, because it is also science based, they call these things more neutral names. And I think it's really important that they call these things neutral because then it doesn't like project anything that you know about that concept onto it. So, focus level 10 is the first focus level that you reach when you start doing these meditations. And so, focus level 10 is body asleep, mind awake. And this is like what we experience in hypnosis. This is what I've experienced in the Silva method. This is what, people will experience in a lot of meditative states where the body becomes fully so relaxed as if it's asleep and then the mind is still awake. So that's focus level 10. And that's what I experienced at focus level 10. So then we have a very immersive schedule. So we do like a meditation, which is about 45 minutes to an hour. And then you go and debrief, and then you go and do another 45 minutes to an hour. So first, they kind of train you up to 10 and then back down to 1, and then up to 10 and then back down to 1. So they actually, when they're training you first at these different focus levels, so then when we go to level 12, we'll go 1 to 10 to 12, back to 10 to 12, back to 10 to 1. So when they're first getting introduced to a new focus level, you are actually going back and forth so that you can feel the difference, but this is assisted by the frequencies. So there's frequencies to assist you to level 10. Level 12 has different frequencies. Level 15 has different frequencies. Level 21 has different frequencies. So you're being assisted to these different frequencies. And then as the meditations go on, they start eliminating so first you're guided through by Bob Monroe's voice, and then as it goes on, they take away some of that guidance and they have you do it yourself so that you like training wheels. You first start with that training wheels, and then they start to remove some of the instructions and have you do it on your own. So that was a lot for me to experience just at the first focus level 10. I come back and do focus level 10 about an hour later. And because I've done Silva method, QHHT, shamanic journeying, because I've done these things, I do know how to get myself to that body asleep, mind awake state pretty easily. Even to like if you watch my videos about how to access the Akashic records here on YouTube, that's really what I say is like you have to get used to getting yourself to that level that the body is asleep and the mind is awake. So I felt very comfortable getting to focus level 10 on my own of using my own methods. But to then have these sounds, these Hemi-Sync sounds, the Monroe sound science, this is extreme assistance to get there. So even people who are not maybe already knowing how to do this, you're going to get there because these sounds, they train you to get there because it literally will make your brain waves go to that level. So we go back to level 10. This is the first day. Well, I mean, first day we get there, go in, you have one meditation that night. The next day is a full day of meditating and a full day of work. And so this is that first full day. And then we go back to level 10 and I feel the same feeling, this disconnection from the body, but not instead of like this normal OBE experience of floating outward, I feel it all come up and congregate in the head. So all the mind, all the consciousness is in the head and not in the body at all. And I start to feel like this thing that had like been upsetting me, which is like something that I don't even like care about. But it was bringing up like these weird things that like I'm like, I already got over this. Why is this coming up? And it was like bringing up like weird insecurities. And I'm like, what is this? Like, why is this coming up? And I'm like, no, like, shoo it away. Get out of here. I'm trying to do stuff. I'm trying to do out of body. I'm trying to do the gateway experience. Get out of here. What is this? I don't want to think about this. But it keeps coming up. And I feel it like living inside of like an area of the body, but my consciousness feels separate. So it's almost like I'm observing where this like insecurity is living inside of me. And it's also something that's not even a big deal. So I was like, why is this coming up? Like, this is so, I don't even care about this. But work through this meditation. I'm going to get more into all of those details when I do a video about my full experience of what happened. But then it's like I really became aware of where this emotion had been living inside of my body. And now, because my consciousness was like only in the head, witnessing the body, it was like, oh, so even though this thing that's coming up is not that big of a deal and I don't even care about it that much, it's active. And this trigger being active is showing me all of these other places of the body that there's kind of scars from a similar wound. So say, for example, this was like, the thing that was coming up was not a betrayal, but it was activating the feeling of betrayal. But then this allowed me to see where betrayal had been living inside of my body with like the body keeps the score stuff. So then I was like, because also I'm like, well, what is going on? So, and I mean, I left out. I bawled my eyes out, cried my eyes out every single damn meditation. And I don't cry. I barely cry. I was crying my eyes out every single meditation because it was just like this profound, like observation of the self happening. And so it allowed me to see, like, wow, I can't deal with these old betrayals because they're dead. They're like dead viruses in the body, inactive, they're scars. So there's nothing like if I go think about old betrayals, I'm gonna think about someone that cheated on me 10 years ago. That wound still lives inside of me, but it's not active. I can't get charged up about getting cheated on 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 8 years ago. Even though those things all happened, they're dead virus type of energy. So, but bringing up this other thing that was not even a big deal allowed me to see, oh, this fear is because this, and this, and this is all living in the body still. So we're using this fear, this insecurity to awaken these other things that are still there, that are not active, but are still dormant in your psyche, in your subconscious. And this is like Monroe Institute is the deepest subconscious work ever. Like, because this is like completely subconscious work. It was bringing the subconscious and the unconscious to the front, to the forefront. And you have to face it. And things come through symbolically, things come through in messages. So then I come back into the body. I come down after this. And I'm like, this is terrible. It feels gross in here. This freaking body keeping the score. And then I go outside and I feel very like almost now other people didn't experience this. So this is my experience, not saying that you'll have the same. But when we were sharing in the room, I would say that, like, when I would come back into the body, I would feel drunk. I would feel like kind of like when you're trying to fall asleep after you've been drinking and your room is spinning. I would feel like that when I would come into the body. And the facilitators are so amazing. Like, we had 2 facilitators, Maya and Arki, and they were literally like angels, the best, and they gave me also some really good tips to kind of come back into the body easier. And they were saying basically I'm kind of going really far out when I'm going, and that's just why it feels like a little bit rough coming back. So they gave me some tools. They actually told me to start letting a little bit of light in before so that I can kind of start to slower come back into the body. And so, but we had about 15 minutes before we had to go and debrief after this, and all of this stuff had come up, and then I was, like, aware of, like, "Damn, this thing coming up, this trigger coming up is such a gift, is such an opportunity for me to be able to see these other things that are living inside of me still, that are still unconsciously and subconsciously affecting my decisions and my beliefs and my self-worth and my fears. This is still alive in me." So, like, thank God for this trigger, which doesn't even mean anything, because it allows me to be aware. But so I felt like one of the things that they said is that as you're coming out of the body, um, you might want to ground. So if you have like a moment before, maybe go step in, sit in the grass or whatever before you come back in to get yourself also more grounded in the body. So I go out, I plop into the grass, and I'm laying on my back, but I just had my eyes closed kind of right away. And I was processing kind of what happened, because this is literally day 1, and I'm already having, like, deep, deep, deep healing for deep wounds and deep awareness as to what is going on. And then I open my eyes, and I'm laying on the grass looking up at a tree and light coming through the tree, and I kid you not, this is identical to the place that was my beautiful place. There's a place in Hollywood. It doesn't look like that anymore because during the pandemic, everybody brought their dogs there and the dogs tore up the whole grass. So there's no grass there anymore. But I used to go to this place by the Bronson Caves in Hollywood. At the base of the Hollywood sign, there was this park. It's still there, but it's not as cozy as it was then. And I laid under this tree and I did a healing exercise to forgive people in my past. So I had forgiven my dad. I had forgiven the person who, you know, I don't want to say the word here and get a violation, but the person who took advantage of me when I was younger, and also one of my ex-boyfriends who had cheated on me and really hurt me. And I had done a healing exercise with that underneath that tree in maybe 2018, 2018, 2019, I did a meditation to forgive these people, to release it, to end the contract, to finish it out. And then I used that place, that visual in my meditation for a couple years after that. Like if I had to kind of go somewhere to like do some astral work, I would go to this place and use that same visual of the place that I did that healing on myself. I open my eyes. It is the same exact tree, that is the same exact shape, with the same exact light shining through, but in Virginia on the grounds of Monroe Institute. And I was like, "Oh, wow." And all 3 of those people that I had done that forgiveness exercise on were people who betrayed me. So I had just come out of this super intense meditation where it activated all these betrayals, and I had to, like, forgive all of these betrayals. And then I saw with my eyes open, I was back at the same place, even though I wasn't at the same place. It was in a different state on another side of the coast. I saw the very same place where I did that from that same view. And it was like the confirmation. The synchronicities leading up to Monroe to after are insane. Like, okay, so this is just some of the things. I'm going to do a whole nother video on my personal experiences. I'm getting too much into my personal experience here. I'm going to answer some of the questions, though, that people submitted. Did you feel safe? Oh, the safest Some people were having fear in the group around leaving the body. You said, "So it was remote viewing." Not really, because I really went to the place in Hollywood. It was just the identical tree and the identical light coming through and the identical thing. So, it was like it wasn't biolocation. These are 2 real places that I 2 times at different points in my life had really gone to. So that's what's crazy, is it's not like it was a remote viewing because I really looked up and saw that in 2018 or 19, and then I really looked up and saw it in 2025. So it was crazy, like, it was just, like, confirmation, alignment. It's like it's wild. Okay, so some of the other people in the group, had brought up, like, as they would start, because some people it was a little different for them to go out of the body. They would kinda get that vibrating to kind of, like, start floating out and then would get scared, like, "What if my heart stops? What if I die?" So, they had brought some of those things up in some of the discussions, and, what I had brought up at that time was, like, "This is the safest place in the world for us to do this. We are with masters. We are in the hands of people like Arky, our facilitator, has been working with Monroe for like 18 years. And even had it not been that long, they have all of the evidence. They have everything available there. Everything that, like, Robert Monroe created this space to safely do this. So, not saying that you're not safe if you do it in your home, because you are safe if you do it in your home as well. But did I feel safe there? Oh my god, it was like the safest place ever. It was like being in a bubble. Oh, thank you. Okay, so, um, someone asked, like, should they go alone if they wanna go to Monroe Institute? Should they go alone or go with friends? I think that is up to you, whatever feels right to you. I think going alone is very powerful because then you can just, share openly and not have any judgment from, not that your friends would judge you, but, like, sometimes I feel doing these experiences, like ayahuasca and stuff, sometimes they are powerful to do alone because, um, you you don't have any judgment of, like, people knowing something about you or something that comes up or something that you share in the group, because these are all strangers. They will become your soul family by the end. They will not be strangers for long. But yes, exactly. There's no embarrassment. There's no, but at the same time, if you do want to experience this with somebody, I think that's also a great thing because there was kind of both. There was friends and partners that were there, and then there was a lot of solo people. And everybody was having the same level of experience, the same quality of experience. So I think that it goes either way. If you do go with someone, I would say don't go with someone who's gonna really, like, dump on you, you know? Because I think that's the biggest thing is, like, don't go with someone who's gonna, like, really emotionally dump on you because you need to hold the space for yourself. Like, that is really important for you to hold that space for yourself. Okay. Someone asked about the spoon bending. We did not do spoon bending, but there are spoon bending classes that they do at Monroe online that you can try, and it's just one weekend. And I don't know a lot about spoon bending, but I know that in the beginning of spoon bending, you do it with your hands. So you get like a spoon that you can't bend, and then you work with the reality, and then you know the right time that you can bend it and twist it. So I don't know. They said about 80% of people are able to do it in one weekend. But I don't know a lot about that. It's people are asking about the remote viewing. So I did not do the remote viewing program. There is a separate remote viewing program. However, remote viewing does happen a little bit, and you've done it, you're right. You start with your hands and gently move it, yeah. And that's, I think, like, mostly what happens in those things is you first learn to kind of get those little, like, blips in reality where you can do this. What is remote viewing? It is to view something remotely, so from a distance, you can see something. Now, remote viewing is outside of time, so you can view something into the past or something into the future. Now, Joe McMoneagle said viewing into the future is difficult not because you don't get it, but because the context is not always there. So sometimes we're viewing something that we don't have the full context of yet because it hasn't happened in our reality, or it's a technology or an event or something that has not happened. So we don't have the full context. So he said remote viewing to the present and to the past is much easier. Favorite day or favorite meditation. So for me, my favorite was level 15. So focus level 10 is body asleep, mind awake. Focus level 12 is expanded awareness, is expanded consciousness. So this is like a place to get solutions, to get answers, to solve problems. Now, you got to watch my podcast that's going to come out in a couple days with Patty Dubroff, who was there. And I'm not going to get into all of that now because there's so much to say. And I kind of want to keep these topics more into their own videos. But Patty and I have a crazy synchronicity, crazy manifestation of how we ended up at Monroe Institute together. And the director of marketing at Monroe Institute went to focus level 12 and got the names of who to invite. So that's one thing that I love about Monroe is that they actually live it. They actually use the methods. It's not like, oh, corporate, and then we teach this. No, they live it. They use it for the head of marketing goes into focus level 12 and says, okay, what creators are the right people to bring here? Who's really needs to come here? And from the ethers got our names. We have a whole crazy story about how that happened, which is going to come out on the podcast. So then above focus level 12 is level 15. So focus level 15 is outside of time and space. Now, I had a very, very, very crazy experience in that. That was my favorite. So focus level 15, that's my jam. So when they said you're going outside of time and space, I set the intention of, oh, well, I want to go to the Library of Alexandria. If I'm going to go outside of time and space, then I'm going to set the intention that that's where I'm going to go. And I have a very crazy thing to share about my experience, which I have to do a whole video about. I got this little thing, which will make more sense when you watch the video about the Library of Alexandria. And I also, when we went back to level 15 again for the next exercise, this is why it was my favorite. I wanted to know more about my abduction experience. And I actually saw, I'll tell you just that part. So, a lot of people already know that I was, had a UFO experience growing up. That's how I know Mitch Horowitz and Chrissy Newton, who were on a Discovery Plus show called Alien Encounters Fact or Fiction. I was one of the abductees on that show. I got cut out. I think they show me a little bit, but all three of us, the last time we were all together was in Roswell, New Mexico, doing this Discovery Plus show. We all end up at Monroe Institute at the same time. Like they didn't know we knew each other. They didn't know that Mitch and Chrissy did a show together. Nobody knew I was on the show because I was pretty much cut out of the show. So nobody knew that I was there, that I was in Roswell, New Mexico with them talking about my UFO experience. Like, it's insane. So, yeah, I'm going to do a whole video on the Library of Alexandria. But then I wanted to know more about my UFO experience. And I already have a lot of information about it. I've already gone under hypnosis. I've already retrieved information. But I was like, is there something more for me to know? So I'm in focus level 15. And then I see from above the city, and it's above Jersey City in the 90s when this UFO experience happened. I see from above, and then I realize I'm seeing from the perspective of the UFO. And I'm seeing the UFO over Jersey City, and then I see it go over the backyard where me and my siblings were when that happened. And then the UFO starts to come down. And then my perspective goes from the UFO to me as a child, to my siblings, to here, to here, to here. The perspective went all jumbled. And then it went fully black. And then a little staircase appeared. And some man walked up the stairs and he like opened the door. And like, like if you're like, I don't know, if you ever like worked in like a restaurant or something and you're like trying to go in, but you don't want to let a customer in behind you. So you're closing the door like really tight behind you. Like you're barely letting the door like open enough because you don't want anybody to grab it and come in. So like I'm seeing from the UFO, the perspective gets jumbled. and then there's these stairs with a old man walks up, closes the door behind him, and then through the screen door, he says, "Oh, sorry, we're closed now," or "Sorry, we're not open right now." And then I just saw the door disappear. And I was like, "Oh, this is probably like the last time I was told I couldn't get more information." Okay. So then I had a whole nother crazy experience on the other side before I was incarnated at level 15. And I'll talk about that in the other video when we get into level 15. But that was my favorite level. I had the best time. Like I'm going back to level 15. Okay, so my that was my favorite day. My favorite meditations were level 15. Then the next level is level 21. And so level 21 is um really I would click out. So clicking out, it's not being asleep, not being awake, but also not remembering. So sometimes you guys might have experienced this before. Now, like, they explained it at Monroe, but like when I would do the triad mind with Mark Serto, or sometimes I've done in Joe Dispenza meditations, I will like feel like I leave and come back, but I don't feel like I went to sleep, but I can't remember what happened. But I also remember something happening, but I can't remember it. And so they said sometimes people will click out. And this is like, they said sometimes like you'll be, and you're like, who is snoring? But it's you snoring because the body is asleep and you're like clicking out. So they explained that clicking out is like a little different than falling asleep. There was a meditation I fell asleep for, but then there's the clicking out where you kind of like get out of consciousness and then come back to consciousness, but you haven't gone to sleep. And it like the time that you come and leave. So a lot of times, like in plant medicine or in other practices, they'll say like, "Oh, it's because you're not ready to see," or, "You couldn't handle what's being worked on." And Monroe was very like clear that it's like, this is just your brain getting ready for or getting used to new levels of consciousness and new levels of awareness. And like not everyone's brain and most people will click out at some point or another because these are levels of consciousness that you've never experienced awake. You've never experienced them consciously. They're like, so it's actually normal to like click out. And so um they did have tips for that. So I'm going to give a couple of tips that people have said or that people, meaning the facilitators at Monroe, have given us to assist. So some people said, like, what tips do you have for us at home doing meditation or doing the gateway experience at home? So the first one is for clicking out. So if you are someone who finds that you're going to be falling asleep during meditation or clicking out because it doesn't feel fully like falling asleep, the tool is, so like, let's say you're laying down, you put your arm up and your hand up. So like, let me do this side so TikTok can see it. So you put your hand up, like say if I was laying down, it would be just like out this way, but because I'm sitting up, it's like this. And so as your hand, as you start to click out or fall asleep, your hand will start to drop. As your hand starts dropping, it'll make you aware again. So if you're someone who tends to fall asleep during meditations or click out when you're practicing these gateway tapes and you start going to these higher levels, it is like the best tool. Like it helped me so much in a couple of when going up to level 21, I would start to click out. Like once I would get past level 18, I was like, "Oh, I'm fading. I can't." And if you listen to the podcast with Patty that is coming out in a couple days, Patty has an amazing story from level 21, like crazy, crazy, crazy story from level 21. So make sure that you said you click out from focus level 23 to 27. So then that is the higher level. So these are the next levels of the program. So they do guidelines, lifelines, heartline. These are different extensions of Gateway. So after you do Gateway, you can do some of these other programs that go up to level 27. And so the hand, like drifting, is a great way to. Where is Patty's story? So Patty's story is going to be on my podcast, Ultra Minds. I haven't posted it yet. It should be coming out on Thursday. I'm hoping to get it all edited by then. So it'll be on my YouTube and then on Spotify sometime after that, but YouTube on Thursday. And so that clicking out is a great tool. Now, the number one tool that I would say that I learned from Monroe Institute that you can implement in it's in the gateway tapes, but you can implement into your meditations is called the energy conversion box. And so what you do in the beginning of your meditation, especially you're going to be doing this heavy subconscious work, is create a mental box that you put everything in that's going to distract you. Don't put people in the box. Put the feeling of a person. You could put the picture of a person. Do not put a person in the box. So you have your box. So, like for me, every single time I did these meditations, I would put my phone in the box in my mind. I would see myself putting my phone in the box. And then they say that the lid is so heavy that you cannot even, like, only you can lift it, is it so heavy. So you already know the stuff that you put in the box is not going to come up. It's not going to distract you during your meditation. It's like such a good tool, and you put it in the box. So every single time we did a meditation, is this their Gateway Voyage program? Yes. Yeah, 5 days. 5 day, 6 night. Yeah, the other way. So I would put my phone because that is everything to do about posting, everybody contacting me, any type of communication, anybody asking me stuff, any questions, anything that is like outside of the outside world is connected through the phone for me, especially while I was there in Virginia. So I just put it in there. And then now what I would do, which is probably part of the reason I was feeling so far from the body, is I would put my body in the box. So the box is not a trash can. It's not a prison. It's not a jail. It's a conversion box. So what you put in there, that energy is converted into something else that is more beneficial. So it's a beautiful, loving box. So, but you don't want to put people in there, right? But so I would put my body in and I would see myself zip the body and then just my astral body would come out and I would leave it in the box. Now, this is probably why in these meditations I was feeling very separate from my body. Any tips for doing this involuntary and now wanting to learn control? Is Gateway the best? If you have involuntarily gone out of body, I would say that Gateway is probably the best tool for it because it's tried and true. It said, "Why not put people in the box?" Um, Now, when we're doing this type of subconscious, unconscious work, it really is doing stuff on the quantum level. It is definitely doing stuff on the quantum level, and that person's really not consenting to be put in a box by you astrally, you know? So, like, it's one, out of respect, out of safety for that person, for yourself, like, it's just not the right thing to do, and I really feel that there is you said the phone puts all the people technically. Yeah, but that's fine. It's a symbol of them. You're not putting this person's actual self into the box. So it's like, for me, it's the communication. It's being asked questions. It's thinking about people. That puts them in the box, but this is my phone. I'm not going to take someone and put them in the box. So they say that it's just not the right thing to do is to put anybody in the box. And it really does affect, like, it's similar to like family constellations, like how with family constellations when you do it, it kind of the whole family starts to heal because of the stuff that has changed in the quantum. And I really feel like that was the case because when I came back, two of my best friends and my sister all had weird dreams about me while I was gone, and maybe other people did too that I haven't talked to yet. But a lot of people very close to me in my inner circle were like, "I had really weird dreams about you while you were gone that didn't make sense." One of my friends had a dream that I was in X-Men school. Chelsea was dreaming that I was astrally traveling outside of her window and knocking on the window and waking her up at night. So it was interesting is I do feel like there was some family constellation stuff because I do feel coming back myself, I feel completely different. Let me see if I answered all the questions because I only wanted to do an hour for this so that if people later on come and find this video, they're more likely to click on it when it's only an hour. But that's why I'm gonna do another video, I don't know when, maybe tomorrow? Do you guys wanna do a Wednesday night live? Um, okay, someone said, "Did you see anything paranormal, any orbs or aliens?" I'll have to talk about that in the personal video because the answer is yes. there was paranormal, orb, alien energies. Um, Favorite day, favorite meditation. Did you get out of body? Yeah. So the out of body was more astral versus your traditional kind of floating out of the body. I do think it is good to do it at home. If you guys wanted to do it at home and you can't go to Monroe physically, like I said, you could do that um, all 1 week program or split it up into the 2 weekends. I asked the facilitators, they said it's basically the same type of schedule. It's just as intensive as the original schedule. Um, yeah, I think that's it. Would I go again? Yes. And I would still, so someone asking about would you do ayahuasca or Monroe? I would do them both again. I would do ayahuasca again, and I would 1,000% do Monroe again. I want to go back and do discovery. I want to do lifelines. I want to do a whole bunch of their programs. Like, I want to do a bunch of their programs. Lifelines is where you actually communicate with past people, people who have passed. And I've never been connected to mediumship. After that, I feel, I don't know, I felt oddly connected to like, so that happens at focus level 27. You started gateway, but you can't visualize and you're worried that might limit me. Okay, so this goes for hypnosis. This goes for everything. This happens in the hypnosis all the time too. When I do QHHT, the same thing. There's people who say that they can't visualize. Now, some people who can't visualize, they're being too literal. A lot of people who are saying, I can't visualize, they're just literal in the sense that they think you're supposed to really, really see it. Some people can really see it. Other people are seeing it in their mind's eye. Other people are remembering it. So having a memory is similar to visualization. And so imagination and visualization are two sides of the same coin, right? So sometimes you have to, so people are like, well, what if I'm just imagining it? Well, that's fine because imagination and visualization are the same thing. I like to look at it as masculine and feminine of the same thing. So what do we know about masculine energy is active, feminine energy is receptive. So sometimes you have to be active in imagining to then get yourself to the state that that becomes very active, that then you get to the receiving of visualization. So sometimes if you're saying that you have an issue with visualization, just imagine and it will eventually start to become passive. Like we initially start to imagine things and then we become receivers of these visuals. Now, it might not be visuals, and that's okay because visualization is actually kind of an umbrella term. It's actually knowingness, sensing, feeling, remembering, having an awareness of. So, all of that is okay. Everybody receives their messages and their brain works a little bit different. So, that is totally okay. If you can't visualize, imagine, remember, have a knowingness of, all of those are right. But if we become so literal, and I think this is what I'll finish on. Hmm, interesting. So, yeah, you said science is showing visualization is almost identical neurologically to actual reality. Exactly. Your brain can't tell the difference between an imagined, visualized experience and a real life experience. Now, your awareness knows the difference, but your brain reacts the same way. And then that is the thing with the whole concept that they use a lot of times in different meditations and hypnosis where they say, "Okay, imagine having a lemon. Smell the lemon. Now, can you really smell it? No, but you can remember what a lemon smells like, and your brain can send the signals of the memory of what a lemon smells like. Smell the lemon. Great. Squeeze the lemon. You know that like kind of waxy feeling. You can remember what a lemon feels like. So, are you truly visualizing? It's a knowingness, it's a remembrance, it's an awareness. All of these things are right. So then cut the lemon in half. You can already know what's about to come, right? You cut the lemon in half, and then now you have half the lemon, and then you're like, okay, lick it. So if you lick a lemon, imagine licking a lemon or biting right into a lemon. Most people's mouths are going to start salivating just thinking about biting into a lemon. Or think about the warhead candy. Think if you've ever had a warhead, think about eating a warhead. You're like feeling it like, this is how we know visualized, imagined, knowingness, psychic, unconscious, subconscious. You just did it and your mouth is watering. Exactly. So this is the thing is that all of these experiences, you're why you know there's no lemon. You know there's no lemon. Why is your mouth watering? Because the brain is going to send the signals regardless. That's why when we do this subconscious, unconscious work that happens at Monroe, that happens in hypnosis, that happens through shamanic journeying, through the Silva method, through all these different means, through meditation, through visualization, through inner child healing, through parts work, through the list goes on and on and on and on. Through Joe Dispenza's work, through the mental movies, through these things. This is why we will still send the signals of our brain because we actually have brain cells. I think they said in the back of your knees and in the back of your neck. So throughout our body, we also have like brain cells. So it's sending those signals the same. So if we know there's no lemon, but your mouth waters, you can trust what happens in these experiences are going to send the same things. For you, it's hard to visualize something you've not experienced, but that's okay because there's always something near that we've experienced, right? So, like, maybe you've never been to Egypt. You've seen pictures of Egypt, or you've been to a sandy beach before. So you've felt what it feels like to have hot sand. You've felt what it feels like to have hot air touching you. So you can also infer from other experiences that are not the exact same thing. So if you're someone who can't visualize, but if you're someone who can't visualize and you're not feeling confident in your abilities, I would suggest doing the discovery program at Monroe instead, because the Monroe discovery program actually shows you the brain waves and gives you one-on-one monitoring and one-on-one guidance of how to get into alpha, theta, gamma, delta, how to get to these states. So that's the thing that now it was funny in our gateway group, it wasn't until the last day that somebody was like, "Well, how do I know if it's real?" And the facilitator was like, it's so funny. Usually we spend the first 3 days talking about if it's real." He's like, "I can't believe with this group that you guys were about to leave and before anybody asked the question." "Oh, your husband just got certified to teach the triad mind." "Oh, beautiful." So the triad mind is Mark Serto's sound entrainment system. So it's similar to gateway experience. It's a mind body soul connection. So it does have these I use triad mind as well, and I click out during triad mind a lot. So I was always wondering what was happening. Am I falling asleep? But I don't feel like I'm falling asleep because then when I hear Mark Serto's voice say it's time to come back now, I'm back and I'm aware. And I'm like, how is this happening? But then after going to Monroe and being able to ask those questions and being able to work with the facilitators, they are like, "Oh, that's clicking out because 'cause you're not awake, you're not asleep, but you don't remember." Mark's voice trances me out, I know. Mark's voice is so great, so gentle. Did you see the library and the park on focus level 27? No, I didn't go to level 27. We only go to 21 in the gateway, and that's a lot. To get to level 21 is a lot of work. So now as we have these brain entrainment sounds, it literally rewires the neural pathways. Like, I have had more integration than I had coming back, like, needed more integration than I had coming back from the ayahuasca, which is crazy because ayahuasca is so intense and but you're not in control and you know you're under the influence of something. This to be completely sober, completely awake, completely aware, and the type of things that come up. Now, I know I'm talking a lot about, like, the mind. and the brain. But this is such a heart experience, and that's why you gotta come back to listen to the private, personal stories, because at the end of the day, like, even though Monroe is like a scientific place, all of the stuff comes back to love, back to kindness, back to helping people, and it's like, that's all the messages everybody gets. They have, Tom Campbell as one of the people that works with them, and Tom Campbell, astrophysicist, who literally talks about the universe, he's like, "It all comes back to love. That's all that matters, is helping people." One of the things that we watched of Tom Campbell when we were there was, like, an interview with Tom Campbell, and he said, he says, "You know, in the enlightenment communities, there's a lot of people who say, 'I'm on my last life because I've reached enlightenment.'" And Tom Campbell, being the physicist who then goes through these whole out of body experiences and had this whole thing, he's like, "And that's the great example of somebody who's not enlightened." And it's like, it's so funny because they all kinda come back to, like, it's about love. It's about Joe McMoneagle, who is the greatest remote viewer in the world. After all of these remote viewings he did for every intelligence agency, for the government, he did it for the army, he did it for everything, he did it for war, he did it for everything. He did all of these remote viewings, and he's like, "You know what the most important thing is in life? Is relationships. That's it. It's the relationships you have with people. None of the other stuff matters. The experience that you have with the connection with other people and what you experience with other people is all that matters." So it's so crazy that they can go to these crazy heights of information to then come back to the basic principle that everybody knows is, oh, it's all about love. It's all about kindness. It's all about helping people. It's all about relationships. It's all about connection. That's all that matters. What was his name? Joe McMoneagle. If you put remote viewer number 1, Project Stargate, you can read all about his, experience. Okay, I think I'm gonna end it there because I don't want this video to go too long. Um, the hardest thing to hold. Interesting perspective. And do we hold relationships or do we just experience them and then they come and go? You are more than your physical body. Yes, Logan. Yeah, I feel my neural pathways have been so rewired. Coming back has been really interesting. I don't feel like the same person that went. I feel like these last couple months, I'm a new person every week. I'm like, I feel like I'm being reprinted in the matrix in all these different forms and getting updated. And I'm really just like surrendering to this whole process. I want to talk more about the spiritual, emotional, private stuff that happened during because I had a lot of healing. A lot of healing. Like I said, I'm going to talk about the Library of Alexandria. I'm going to talk about like some pre-life soul contracts that came up. I want to talk about like some different I got like one of the meditations is the 5 most important messages. You said you look different. I feel different. Um yeah, the place that I went to in level 21 is crazy. Like, oh my god, I got like 3 more book ideas. Oh, yeah, we got, like, a vibration one where I felt like I was getting vibrated, recoded. Um, we did an emotional cleansing, so one of the meditations is an emotional cleansing. I mean, it's just insane. All of it is insane. I have to do a whole 'nother video. Oh, yeah, so this one's interesting too. There's one called The Visit, and in The Visit, you meet somebody on the other side of a door who loves and understands you, and you guys are gonna be really shocked who was on the other side of that door, because I was shocked. I don't think anybody's gonna guess it, because I was quite shocked to see who was on the other side of the door of somebody who loves and understands me. Are these recordings or did you go to the institute? I did go to the institute. It was not me. Yeah, no, it wasn't me. It wasn't Dolores, but Dolores did come through at one of the levels. I do gotta talk about it. Dolores came through. Um, yeah, what are you most excited to talk about? It wasn't Jesus. It yeah. Okay. Going outside of time and space, dreams that I was having. Oh my God. Like literally, like one of the nights I couldn't go to sleep. And then when I got out, there was two people that were looking for me. Not in like a creepy way, but like we're like, oh, I was just about to knock on your door. So it's just interesting, this like kind of push and pull. Was it Nostradamus? No. Oh God, you guys are guessing it. You guys are guessing it. Grays. No, the grays were not the ones on the other side of the door, but grays did come in. So gray aliens did come in. They did a surgery on me, and they were doing surgery on some other people there too. And, not to give too much details because everybody's going to talk about their own experience privately, but there was some people who were like, aliens were doing stuff to me last night. I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. They were here the last couple nights. Okay, guys. Check out the Monroe Institute. If you're interested, if you're called to do it, you're going to have to book it out pretty far because they are booked up. But yeah, I'm gonna talk about my personal experiences. Maybe I'll do a live oh, no, I can't do a live tomorrow. I have a hypnosis client. That's not gonna work. I'll do it in the next couple days. Like the live, guys. Okay. All right, guys. Thanks. Love you. And you're going to want to stay tuned. Make sure you are subscribed because my episode with Patty is going to come out, and Patty's going to talk about a lot of stuff that happened at Monroe, happened at level 21, happened leading up to there. The last 21 years leading up to this has led to how she got to Monroe in a crazy series of synchronicities. And then also, I'm going to do my own video about the private messages and knowledge and everything that I got from there. So, bye guys.